here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. Tuesday, September 6th. We're finally past Labor Day and almost done with summer. Do another Fates Warning, or you call it Fates Warning related release. We only got 2 of these left, and then I'm going to do a ranking video and include a couple more things. I suppose the first thing I could do is I did find it was mixed in with my books. My Theories of Flight book from the last video I didn't have, that was just on there. I think most of this, it just always looks so dark in here and it comes out fine. Most of this was also with the vinyl, so, you know, it's not that picture and everything. Anyway, I always like the artwork on Theories of Flight. That's one reason why, I mean, it doesn't usually make or break an album for me, but for whatever reason, a lot of times, a lot of records I really love have really cool looking artwork. At least I think so. But the follow-up, that was in 2016, Theories of Flight. I don't know how much touring they did for that. But I'm not sure. They did some touring, but anyway. Yeah, and then maybe I should just show that now. I was going to talk about the live albums. I did get this. This was, okay, yeah, this was before that. So then they released, Fates Warning released live over Europe, which is like their official only second live album, I think. They have Live at Dynamo and a couple other, like 1 or 2 other DVDs, but official live discs. And it's a really good set list. It has a lot of stuff from Theories of Flight. Kind of a mix. I mean, it has, you know, some of the later... It has the song Falling, but not Falling Further, but Falling. So some of the Darkness in a Different Light stuff. Still Remains, obviously, is a highlight. The 11th Hour. I mean, the Latent Shade of Things. So it has, you know, at least 5, 6, 7 of my favorite songs by the band. Parts of A Pleasant Shade of Grey and... yeah, Nothing Left to Say. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good set list. Anyway, this video is not supposed to be about the live disc, but I suppose I could just include that. I mean, sadly, I've only probably listened to it 3 or 4 times. I had it in my car for a little while, and oftentimes I would be with my wife. I wonder if I listened to it. I have a Marillion live album from this period of time, too, that I've only... That's about the same number of times. I mean, I enjoy it. I just don't listen to live albums that much. But... they mainly toured in Europe, because that's frequently where they ended up, you know, having a larger fan base. And I am reading the book more. I'm, of course, an ongoing reading Jeff Wagner's book, Destination Onward. And I'm now at the point I'm around Perfect Symmetry. Learning the fact that Rivers Cuomo of Weezer, that was in a prog metal band called Avant Garde, that's later changed their name to Zoom? Was it Zoom? Something like that. But he took guitar lessons from Jim Matheos. They're from Connecticut, Weezer, so... I'm not really much of a Weezer fan, although Rivers Cuomo did write a song for the last Monkees album. She Makes Me Laugh, I think it was? Yeah. Good Times. But anyway, so that came out in 2018, but there was talk, I don't know how long, around that time, before, after, about John Arch getting back together with Jim Matheos to write and record another album, a follow-up to Sympathetic Resonance from 2011. It had been many years. I mean, John Arch doesn't do music full-time, so it's not that surprising it took that many years, that was 8 years, to release this album, Winter Ethereal, which came out, I looked it up. There is no Wikipedia page for it, interestingly. There is for Sympathetic Resonance, but there's a page that lists it. May 10th, 2019. And, I mean, you know, just remembering, of course, my sort of enthusiasm for, well, I think I'm getting a package. My enthusiasm for the fact John Arch was working with Jim Matheos again, you know, and the sort of, more the idea of it when Sympathetic Resonance came out, and I did listen to it a fair amount, but I was still kind of like, oh, I'm totally excited because there's a new another record for them to work on, even if it was 8 years later. Um, and I'll say that I pre-ordered it, so let me show the CD. Being distracted by the FedEx truck that's got a package for my wife, I believe. So I don't know if there's anything underneath the CD. Probably not. Occasionally they do something. I hope I didn't crack that. Oh yeah, there's a photo. So, it's on. I think this is on Inside Out again, or Fate's Warning was on. No, this is Metal Blade. They went back to Metal Blade, or they went to Metal Blade. Yeah, this is my digital download, which. And then here's the vinyl, of course. Yeah, this guy's having a good time trying to. He's in front of my driveway. I believe it's for me, but. Called Winter Ethereal. It's kind of a different style artwork, very more. I'd call it gothic or gatefold with the lyrics, of course. Wouldn't call it gothic. I would call it seasonal, like kind of seasonal fall, very fall-like. I would say fall, winter, or winter, I guess you could say. It's like Agalloch. You know how Agalloch and a lot of like black metal gets associated. This isn't black metal, but of course the stain kind of fits. It's like almost like a marble or kind of marbly, I guess. I don't know if they dropped it off or not. We got some weird people that deliver stuff because you got these people that they crank their music in their trucks, and I don't get it, but I can hear it, of course. The reason why I'm not all that enthusiastic to be living at this location because of this stuff. I need to spend money to soundproof it or something. Anyway, yeah, there's the labels and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of mythical or mystical, mysterious. I don't know. Sympathetic Resonance had this sort of intensity to it, massive, sort of in-your-face punch to it. And here's the back. This album, I remember the time I kind of came to that feeling that I eventually came with Sympathetic Resonance with, I like this, but I'm not addicted to it, and I'm struggling with it at points, even though I, John Arch and, Jim Matheos doing prog metal, now, and, everything that I love from Jim Matheos so the last decade, and love the Twisted Fate EP. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that I was just hoping this album would be different and hopefully maybe a little better. And I think that's kind of what happened. At the same time, it's not. It didn't floor me. It wasn't. I didn't pull out my albums of the year again. It was not my album of the year in 2019. My album of the year was Vonavi that year, the debut album. Let's just see here. There it is. It was on my. It was reasonably high. Let me find it here. Where was it? Albums. I had it just a minute ago. I had there. Okay. What came out besides Vonavi that in 2019, just a few years ago? I mean, in fairness, it wasn't that many years ago that it was released. And I know a lot of the fans kind of have a similar approach that I do, that they struggled with this a little bit too. Yeah, and I finished number 5 again, similar to Sympathetic Resonance, which it's more of a product of the year. I think of the albums that are behind it. So Foals, Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost, Parts 1 and 2. Local Natives, Violet Street, I really like. A Formal Horse, that's a newer album. Their debut album, it's a mouthful. Here Comes a Man from the Council with a Flamethrower. Then Arch Matheos, Winter Ethereal. Moron Plays a Boat on the Sea. The Claypool Lennon Delirium, not thinking about it, that might be over it. Disillusion the Liberation. Yeah, They Don't Write Curious. 2019 was definitely a year that didn't have a lot of top hitters. Now, over time, like the Formal Horse record, I've been discovering, I will discover more things that, I didn't hear that year. But yeah, just looking at it now, looking at the list, Yeah, it's kind of thin. It's kind of a thin year. Cats in Space, which I'm really liking their new record somewhat. A Thousand Hands from John Anderson, Jolly's album Family, Barack Project, Seven Seas. It's like every band that put out a record this year. It's like I found like most of their records I like in the past more. A Formal Horse doesn't count because that was their debut album. Claypool Lennon, Moron Police, and Vanavi. I mean, that's why Vanavi stood out so much. Anyway, so this album has. It's better than Sympathetic Resonance for one factor alone. The songs are more songs, I think, and also while the mixing bugs me still, it definitely the ratio of guitars to vocals in the mix at points, especially the first half, does bug me. It doesn't bother me as much as on Sympathetic Resonance. I think there's a little more to latch onto, and the vocal mix is a little bit higher, but it's kind of hit and miss. It's almost intermittent. I'll say my favorite tracks: Vermilion Moons, Wanderlust. I like a lot of Wrath of the Universe at times. I remember liking that first, although that's that really kind of punchy, like almost like galloping, riffy track. Tethered is probably the poppiest song that John Arch has ever done, but I think it really works in a lot of ways. That's the most memorable song in some ways. Straight and Narrow, Pitch Black Prism, I like moments of. Straight and Narrow I like. Straight and Narrow is heavier than Tethered, but it's also kind of more accessible and shorter. Never in Your Hands and Kindred Spirit. Kindred Spirit's a side D on the vinyl, and both Never in Your Hands and Kindred Spirits I like. I just listened to it today, but I was kind of being distracted by my work. Massive, just unbelievable, rolling my eyes at what I was trying to do today with work related, something work related, but so my focus wasn't perfect, and then I was having the cats. One of the cats was definitely seeking attention, so I wish my focus had been on it, but I was like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You know, and it didn't seem as guilty that a lot of, like, I think parts of Vermilion Moon, Solitary Man, Pitch Black Prism, it's just those power chords that Jim used are mixed so high, and that's frequently only what you hear, what you think of for the song. So it's kind of, I guess you'd say this album is uneven, but overall it scores a little bit higher. It bats a little higher batting average than Sympathetic Resonance. Now within the whole Fates Warning complete, catalog, because the lineup on this album is the same, I believe. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, in fact, you even had Joe DiBiase on one track. I forgot about that. Because I know the thing is, in 2019, this came out. That's true. I forgot about that. I did a review. I saw Fates Warning with Queensryche in March of 2019. So this came out only a couple months later. I think that's what I wanted to ask Jim about. I didn't get to talk to him. Didn't want to, didn't have time to wait around down at Medina Ballroom down there. And I remember Joe DiBiase, Bones, as they call him in the book, and the band referred to him as. I don't know if he's a Star Trek fan, DeForest Kelly, Dr. McCoy. Bones was on some of the tour dates, but I don't, in my review, if I mentioned he didn't show up at the show we were at, I forget. Maybe he did. It was kind of a big deal. He made a special appearance. Essentially, Sean Malone, who played with Jim Matheos on the first OSI album, I don't know if he was on any of the others. Maybe the second as well is on this. Of course, the late Sean Malone. So there were a bunch of guests. Thomas Lang. So it wasn't just Bobby Johnson Beck. Thomas Lang. George Hideous played bass on Tethered. So Mark Zonder even plays on Wanderlust and Tethered. So this even more so. And then, of course, Frank Aresti plays on guitar solos on Never in Your Hands and Kindred Spirits. A couple of them. They're not the only solos in there. So he's not only on the last two songs. But, yeah, this was even more collaborative in some ways. Though I guess you could say that Bobby Johnson Beck wasn't like the only or the official drummer. And Joey Vera's on this, and he's on, I believe, Sympathetic Resonance as well. But so it's very collaborative. It's really just Fates Warning with a different singer again, with John Arch versus Ray Alder or whatever. So anyway, what's your take on Winter Ethereal? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you think it's... Some people might... I mean, in some ways, this album is very exploratory. It's like... It's got only, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... It's got 8 songs, and none of the songs are super long. So it's sort of a best kind of a marriage of progressive but song oriented. Not the songs don't overstay the welcome. I think it's a little more digestible, even though it's a lot to digest. There's no questioning that because there's just tons of guitar layers and it's very technical at times. But I think there's more atmosphere. That's probably the best way to put it to it. That I think Sympathetic Resonance lacked to a point. And you think about like some of the other Fates Warning albums. Compare it to Darkness in a Different Light, and then the album that came after it, Long Day, Good Night, the one that probably would be the most apropos to compare it to. And of course, Theories of Flight. Now, maybe just because of my history, my attention, my addiction at points to Theories of Flight, I can't really. The two albums sound a lot different, even though it's mostly almost all the same musicians. But it's why I think that it's pretty arguable, even though I'm putting them in the rankings, that Arch Matheos, especially the two Arch Matheos albums, have a different approach and sound somewhat. A little bit like what you could say the first 3 albums, too, to what happened after. It's like No Exit, but then you compare Parallels and Perfect Symmetry to Spectre Within and Awaken the Guardian. They sound, in a lot of ways, like a different band. This is definitely different sounding than Theories of Flight and Darkness in a Different Light in a lot of ways. Not just because of Ray. I think it's sort of the writing approach that Jim used to an extent. So, but anyway, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Thank you for watching. Give me your take on this record. I got one more left. The double album, the longest Fates Warning album. Look at this picture. It's just weird, the artwork on this, too. It's kind of almost, it doesn't look like a Fates Warning album. But, yeah, I got one more, and it's going to be, I'll probably be next week, because, the rest of this week I'm at work at the office, so I don't have time. And next Monday, probably Monday, if I have time, I have an eye appointment, and I may have 1 or 2 errands to do, but I probably can get it done, as much as that album is long. So I got one more video to film today, though, but thank you for watching. Like I said, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We'll see you next time.